Role-playing games have been incredibly popular for longer than there have been computers and consoles, with a long and storied history stretching back to the inception of tabletop adventures. That means there's now been decades of RPG evolution, so much so that the genre now has several distinct strands. Among the most popular are JRPGs, role-playing games developed in Japan. While many are instantly recognizable thanks to their anime-influenced visuals, that's not the only element that makes JRPGs distinct from games made elsewhere in the world. They traditionally put emphasis on epic, emotional, linear stories headlined by handcrafted characters rather than playing generated protagonists. Combat is typically very tactical and often turn-based, and if you're lucky, you'll be able to summon a giant deity or freaky monster to help you out. And of course, there's the music. You won't find a game on our list that doesn't have a terrific battle theme. So prepare your potions and slot your materia. It's time for IGN's Top 25 JRPGs.
Now get on your high horse! You're nothing more!
With a series as wide-ranging as Shin Megami Tensei, it's tough to pick out a single entry as the one to put forward as the top choice. Although the combo of SMT6 and SMT4 Apocalypse is our favorite 1-2 punch, and the modernized Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is fantastic in its own right, and the recent remaster is a solid version we can recommend if you want to see what Shin Megami Tensei is all about. In a departure from the JRPG tradition, you're not going to find an emotional or deep story in Nocturne. The Shin Megami Tensei series is more concerned with big philosophical questions about human nature, which creates a platform for its uniquely deranged, post-apocalyptic Tokyo. It's a rad approach, and you don't see it often outside of Shin Megami Tensei. The focus here is more on the crunchy RPG stuff, which is widely known to be tough as nails and punishing in ways that aren't always fair. That's part of the Shin Megami Tensei experience, and it makes Nocturne's hardest battles satisfying and rewarding, especially as you evolve and fuse your roster of demons as if they were cursed Pokemon.
To create or destroy this world, the choice lies with you.
The Breath of Fire series may have been lost to time, but it was formative for those of us who played them in their heyday. While some folks will point to Breath of Fire 4 as the series' peak, we will always have a special fondness for Breath of Fire 3, which works as a fantastic coming-of-age tale. As always, your protagonist is a blue-haired boy who's part dragon, but seeing him grow up throughout the story and work alongside some awesome characters makes for a memorable journey. Although its turn-based battles play out fairly straightforward, it's a well-executed combat system that shows the core tenets of what makes JRPGs great. It can be obtuse at times with its minigames along the way, like training that one villager in combat or navigating the Desert of Death by following the stars in the night sky. But this was the first time I loved a fishing minigame, which was part of what gave Breath of Fire 3 a strong sense of place. It's a world with 3D environments and some fantastic sprite work for its character designs. It's one of the gems of the PS1 era and a great representation of JRPGs in its time. Golden Sun and its sequel, The Lost Age, really should be counted as one game, which is the way they were always intended to be, as it's impossible to pick one over the other to represent one of the most incredible RPG adventures out there. A revolutionary Game Boy Advance duology, its gorgeous pixel art still holds up today, and its soundtrack by Motoi Sakuraba pushed the little handheld beyond its limits. Though aspects of Golden Sun's turn-based battle system and Activate the Elemental MacGuffin's plot are fairly RPG standard, others took wild, exuberant turns. Synergy, the game's magic system, can be used both in battle and as a traversal mechanic in the overworld, for instance. The Elemental Jin system added a new layer of risk-reward to battles, as players could choose whether to sacrifice stat gains for powerful attacks or interesting effects. And the story, though standard throughout much of the first book of Golden Sun, takes a surprising swerve leading into the Lost Age by placing players in the shoes of the series' antagonists, forcing them to continue their journey from an opposing perspective. The two-part saga is not just one of the best GBA games or even Nintendo games out there. It's one of the best RPGs ever and remains beautiful, strange, and fun to this day. Any JRPG studio that partnered with Studio Ghibli for its animation could have created an excellent game, but Level 5's wonderful Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch from 2011 still impresses us to this day. Its heart-wrenching story begins with protagonist Oliver losing his mother and being whisked away to a magical world on a quest to bring her back to life. Level 5 could have plugged this tale into a generic turn-based RPG and called it a day, but instead, it created a fantastic battle system that's rooted in collecting little creatures and using them to fight bad guys. It's a system that feels equal parts Pokemon and Kingdom Hearts. Happily, Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch is no longer sequestered to just the PS3, and you can play it pretty much anywhere you can play games right now. Lost Odyssey revolves around Kaim, an immortal who's lost the memories of his well-worn life and the pain of regaining those memories in a world beset by war and change. Written by the father of Final Fantasy Hironobu Sakaguchi and developed by his Mistwalker studio, you can expect all the common refrains: solid turn-based RPG combat, stunning cinematics, and beautiful music courtesy of longtime collaborator Nobuo Uematsu. There's also tons of in-game novellas that recount Kaim's lost memories, all elegantly penned by author Kiyoshi Shigematsu. This amalgamation of traditional JRPG gameplay, sweeping music, and novellas come together to create something truly spectacular. It's a shame none of that was fully appreciated back when it launched. Lost Odyssey is a victim of circumstance. It's a JRPG meant for an audience interested in a mature story. Not the Gears of War hyper-violent type of mature that was the zeitgeist of the Xbox 360 era, but one that resonates with the human experience. Sadly, it did not find that audience when it launched in 2007, and so, today, it's a fondly remembered cult classic rather than the first in a successful series.
Got no use for the past.
One of the best JRPGs in the original PlayStation lineup sequel, Star Ocean: The Second Story, absolutely nails the 2D sprite characters and gorgeous, detailed background visuals that made that era special, and uses them to deliver a rich world and storyline through its two main characters. Players get their pick of who to play as: Claude, the human, or Rena, the elfish Nedian. To explore towns and dungeons, battling, befriending new party members, and unraveling interplanetary intrigue. Combat is real-time and nicely customizable with 3 modes: standard, semi-active, or full active, which adjusts how much automation is happening, which you can swap between in real time. Classic 90s RPG looks, evolved mechanics, Star Ocean: The Second Story is still fondly remembered for a reason. If this list was based purely on gameplay alone, Bravely Default 2 would score much higher. This JRPG takes its name from the combat system's core mechanics, which sees you either brave, to make multiple actions in one turn, or default, to defend and save up moves for another turn. It's a simple but effective premise that makes for one of the best combat experiences in JRPG history. As you may expect for a combat-focused game, Bravely Default 2 is no pushover, with 20 to 30 minute boss battles being a common occurrence. After every challenge conquered, you are rewarded with a new character class or job, which encourages constant experimentation and build crafting. Finding the right combination of abilities will have you feeling all-powerful as you exploit the systems in your favor. Simply put, Bravely Default 2 is one of the best games for anyone seeking a classic JRPG experience. For the longest time, Live Alive was the quintessential JRPG you'd hear about through internet forums or word of mouth. Part of its magic was that it remained out of reach for so long. Until 2022, it was available exclusively in Japan. All that left me wondering, was Live Alive's obscurity part of its magic? You know, you want what you can't have sort of thing? Fortunately, Live Alive manages to live up to the hype, as proven by the recent remake that was released worldwide. Its episodic structure allows you to pick from a number of distinct games within a game. Want a prehistoric Romeo or Juliet story? How about a kung fu passing of the torch set in China? Or perhaps you want a sci-fi story about dangerous cargo on a long-haul spaceflight. Each vignette has its own gameplay quirks and characters that suit the setting. I'd love to dive into the specifics, but the joy is discovering them for yourself, so what are you waiting for?
So it's not over, huh?
Not by a long shot.
A A true standout in the huge Tales series of games, 2008's Tales of Vesperia combined strong storytelling and a refined linear motion battle system and managed to create a world that both grizzled Tales veterans and first-timers could get lost in. The main hero is Yuri Lowell, a disillusioned former Imperial Knight soldier who is less concerned with saving the world and more focused on how abuse of the world's precious Blastia core resources are affecting his local neighborhood. Naturally, this leads to forming a party of anime characters running off to explore the map and watching characters banter between battles. Tales of Vesperia made a few tweaks to Tales' combat mechanics, but kept the important parts, e.g. a real-time battle system that skips the random encounters, so standard in the genre, so it's intense without ever feeling like a grind. Chaining together combos and using special attacks in the heat of battle do a lot to spice up the classic turn-based strategy. Simply put, Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of the finest action RPGs ever made. The original Kingdom Hearts' blend of Disney meets Final Fantasy was a novel throughline that punctuated a delightfully melodramatic storyline that players wanted to see to the end, despite its clunky combat. Kingdom Hearts 2 takes everything unique about the original setting, combat, and player customization and throws it into a blender, adds a dash of anime-inspired over-the-top finishers, and the result is a series of scenarios that left our jaws on the floor. This sequel takes everything we love about the original and elevates it through the addition of finely crafted extra gameplay features, including Sora's new forms to further complement player styles, large-scale encounters, memorable set pieces with iconic Final Fantasy characters like Cloud and Squall, Leon, that left me cheering in my seat, and so much more. Is it the best of the three mainline Kingdom Hearts games? We certainly think so. The Grandia series may not have been blessed with a new game for a few generations, but Grandia 2 nonetheless still holds a special place in our hearts. Its unique combat mechanics, which sees attacks playing out in real time after selecting them from a more traditional turn-based menu system, enable strategies to play out as if you were issuing orders to characters in a real-time strategy game. Then there's the cancel mechanics, where attacks can interrupt enemy turns, allowing you to finish battles completely unscathed. Combined, these ideas create a battle system where you can master which attacks to use and when to use them based on their speed, range, and charge time, all with the aim of defeating foes and taking as little damage as possible. This superb twist on combat matches Grandia 2's story, led by the excellent protagonist Ryudo, which often zigs when you expect it to zag. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth is a game of balance. An emotional conclusion for the series' original protagonist, Kiryu, is elegantly counterbalanced by an uplifting story surrounding the series' new lead, Ichiban. Combat juggles Like a Dragon's beat-em-up roots with the recently added turn-based battles and a wacky job system. Somehow, Infinite Wealth manages to balance all of this like an incredibly skilled waiter tending to a table of 16, all while also including knockoffs of Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and Crazy Taxi as side quests. Infinite Wealth features, a wealth of content to ensure it's way bigger and better than perhaps it should be. An emotional roller coaster, the most recent mainline Like a Dragon game is one of the most memorable experiences in gaming.
Oh, what the hell? Yeah!
Xenogears strikes you with a frightening, grim opening that sets the tone for a darker, more mature story than its PS1 contemporaries. It's the closest thing you could point to as an RPG adaptation of the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, not just because of its religious symbolism and super cool mechs, but for the ways in which it touches on tragedy and existentialism. All of that helped it stand out in 1998, but it also has a unique turn-based combat system that almost feels like a fighting game. Button combos and successfully managing your pool of action points opens up different combos that add a distinct strategic layer. Summoning in Gears, or mechs, is so satisfying and amplifies its biggest battles. And when it comes to animation and pixel art, Xenogears is still one of the best to do it. We'll always remember Xenogears as one of Squaresoft's classics of the PlayStation 1 era, but there's no denying that it was left rather unfinished. Infamously, much of the second disc relied on a series of cutscenes to wrap things up without much in the way of gameplay. Maybe Xenogears was too ambitious for its own good and the team ran out of time. It's just another way in which it shares a history with Evangelion. It's unsurprising that Nintendo's #1 plumber would eventually branch out beyond just jumping across platforms and explore the possibilities of other game genres. 1996's Super Mario RPG was his first step into the world of turn-based combat, but it's his adventure in 2004's Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door that shines the brightest. Its blend of turn-based combat, a versatile stat-enhancing badge system, and numerous sidekicks that come along for the ride make it a memorable experience. The Thousand-Year Door also features some of the best comedic writing seen in any Mario game, which ensures it entertains with its heartfelt moments and laugh-aloud scenarios until the credits roll. Its striking, modern yet nostalgic HD 2D art style will certainly grab your attention. But beneath that shiny pixel art, Octopath Traveler 2 capably proves that there's still innovation and heart to be found within the classic foundations of JRPGs. Each of its 8 characters are the lenses for a powerful story about overcoming circumstance and taking action against the oppressive systems responsible for their misfortune. They all have bright personalities, even those with hardened exteriors, and the way their paths are intertwined finally pays off the ambitions of the original, somewhat flawed Octopath Traveler. Featuring one of, if not the, best turn-based combat systems of all time, Octopath Traveler 2 strikes just the right balance of complexity, which shines brightest in its challenging and rewarding boss fights. It wouldn't be a top JRPG if it didn't have an amazing soundtrack to bring it all together too. But it's not just about having great music, it's also about how it's used. Octopath Traveler 2 blends its beautiful character themes with its empowering boss battle tunes at critical moments, and it's touches like that remind you this team wasn't just trying to bank on our nostalgia, they were pushing the genre forward. Trails in the Sky often feels closer to reading a book thanks to its focus on world building and deep characters. FC, the first game in the series, starts slow in a cozy game type of way. You'll be rescuing cats and defending farms. But things gradually escalate, and before long, you're preventing a scheme to overthrow the government. Trails' world feels incredibly alive thanks to well-established relationships between its characters and how NPC dialogue changes to comment on every major event. Meanwhile, combat combines traditional turn-based mechanics with a tactic-style grid, meaning characters' positioning and properly targeted abilities are vital to your success. This base, established in the first game, is so strong that the series has stuck with it through 2 decades and more than 10 different games. This hidden gem is also getting the remake treatment. Look out for Trails in the Sky first chapter later in 2025. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are generous games jam-packed with a ton of stuff to do, which will certainly appeal to the Pokemon player who loves to explore. Much like the original Gold and Silver, Heart Gold and Soul Silver brings players back to the Kanto region after their stint in Johto for a full-on extra Poke adventure complete with gyms, native Pokemon, and of course, a battle with the ultimate rival, Red from the original Pokemon games. Plus, you can catch most Pokemon from Gens 1 through 3 in this revamped version of the classic region. And I know I've been talking about sprite work a lot on this list, but these sprites are delightful. Plus, this is the Pokemon game that has unique sprites for every Pokemon that follows you in the overworld. It allows for a level of immersion into the Poke world that wasn't previously possible in earlier games. Suikoden 2 continues its predecessor's work of bucking the JRPG tropes of the era while weaving a mature story rife with political intrigue, the ambiguity of war, and memorable characters. All of that rendered in some of the finest sprite work the original PlayStation was capable of, with apologies to Breath of Fire 4. But come on! 108 recruitable party members, each with their own side quests, along with combat that supported 6 party members and team-up attacks that will have you playing with team composition for hours on end. Suikoden 2 takes everything about the original and improves upon it in every single way, and further refines the stunning sprite work that made the series stand out at a glance. This game stinks. That was the tagline Nintendo went with to market Earthbound in 1995. Perhaps somewhat predictably, it didn't work out all that well, as the Super Nintendo RPG was a commercial failure in the West. But the few that did pick up Earthbound's enormous big box, complete with a player's guide and scratch and sniff cards, so 90s, stumbled into an incredibly quirky, comedic, and poignant adventure. Earthbound takes a satirical look at America through the lens of Japanese writer Shigesato Itoi. It's set in Eagle Land, for crying out loud, and there's something to laugh or smile at during nearly every moment of Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh's quest to save the world from an impending alien threat. The writing is hilarious, the soundtrack is unforgettable, and the story it tells about growing up and trying to go home again is one that almost anyone can relate to. On top of that, Earthbound is a great RPG that takes the tried and true Dragon Quest formula and puts it in a contemporary setting. While it didn't sell well at the time, Earthbound is possibly the definition of a cult classic, and it has inspired countless indie games over the last 30 years, including a little gem called Undertale. Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age was a landmark moment for the long-running JRPG series. Its tale of togetherness, mutual understanding, and forgiveness, combined with gorgeous visuals, exceptional turn-based combat, splendid storylines, and a colorful cast of characters, delivers excellence from start to finish. Every character in the party gets their time to shine, and some of their individual tales often rival the quality of the campaign's superb main storyline. Dragon Quest XI is an excellent example of how refining what has come before can breathe new life into a franchise, just as much as completely reinventing it. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is focused on telling the grand, adventurous story of two nations locked in a perpetual war. Just the cutscenes alone will treat you to a fantastic anime version of the tale. There's even a cutscene the length of a movie. The writing is incredibly strong and offers commentary on our core beliefs, but despite these heavy topics, the characters are consistently very funny, and things are often wrapped with a hopeful message. But Xenoblade games are not just about their stories, and this third and final chapter in the Chronicles series has gameplay chops to match its storytelling. Combat is flashy and MMO-like with its array of abilities, and you'll be able to make the most of your team as you fight all manner of creatures, humans, robots, and mechs. We're saving the best till last though. You can transform into a Gundam-esque entity called Ouroboros. And just based on that alone, Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the best JRPGs that Nintendo has ever made. Metaphor ReFantasio, the latest game from Persona creator Atlus, takes a close look at the power of fiction and the impact it can have on the real world. The king is dead, and an election must now take place to choose a new ruler, which introduces you to a range of candidates with varying belief systems. This democratic battle for succession leads to an exploration of class, race, religion, and political structures which Metaphor handles deftly, striving to convey an understanding of such problems rather than offering a solution. Much like Persona, Metaphor is broadly split into social and combat sections. The life sim portions of the game have you leveling kingly virtues like tolerance, wisdom, and eloquence as you learn to empathize with conflicting viewpoints. Combat, meanwhile, is Atlus at its best, combining the snappy single-button press combat of Persona, the strategic depth and turn system from Shin Megami Tensei, and a class system called Archetypes for good measure. All of this, plus the striking art style and incredible music we've come to expect from Atlus, Metaphor ReFantasio is a modern classic with a powerful message that makes it a worthy spot in our top 5. No JRPG list is complete without a Final Fantasy, and for good reason. The series has been around since the genre's beginning and is partially responsible for many of its foundational elements. But the challenging part about including a Final Fantasy game in a list like this, of course, is picking just one. There's 16 mainline games, plus a whole bunch of spin-offs and sequels, and even the most contentious games have their own unique offerings. But after much deliberation, we've made our choice. An unorthodox one filled with complex combat, a heartfelt story, and an unforgettable cast of characters powered by fantastic writing and larger-than-life bosses. Of course, it could only be
Remain a dream so long as I live. I don't give a fuck who
We're kidding! Though Stranger of Paradise is fantastic in its own right. Our actual pick is Final Fantasy X, the timeless story of an overwhelming power taking over the world and the small group of spiky-haired individuals overcoming the trials necessary to prepare them for the final battle. Summoner Yuna and her group of guardians gave us our first introduction to what was once the future of Final Fantasy thanks to the PS2's higher quality graphics and fully voiced characters. Final Fantasy X also gave us a sphere grid system that allows almost unrivaled freedom for building and improving character attributes, the Blitzball minigame that is still talked about for its fun and depth, and a wealth of extra content that challenges and entertains those wanting to see everything this masterpiece has to offer, including this gem. Okay, I know this scene gets a bad rap often, but it's often taken out of context, and I would argue it's actually a really good scene. But moving on.
You probably shouldn't laugh anymore.
With a lavish anime style and rebellious attitude, Persona 5 draws you into its modern Tokyo, where the distorted desires of the city's people are made manifest in an alternate dimension of the metaverse. Persona 5 makes a strong statement about taking action against those who abuse their power in insidious ways. The definitive version, Persona 5 Royal, not only refines the game's combat mechanics, but also goes beyond its initial boundaries with new characters and a heart-wrenching additional chapter to bring it all together. Persona 5 uses the tried and true principles of the Shin Megami turn-based combat system, using its brisk momentum to keep things moving with captivating style. But it's during the downtime sequences in Tokyo where you spend your days throughout the school year, where you unravel the stories that drive Persona 5's greatest ideas. The series' signature blend of RPG dungeon crawling and social sim bring you closer to its world, its characters, and the struggles they face. And whether it's to invigorate you for a big battle or evoke a certain emotion in dialogue, Persona 5's genre-bending soundtrack is an unforgettable one. It's a confluence of all these elements that give Persona 5 a sense of purpose, making it one of the greatest games of all time. While the emotional rollercoaster of Persona 3 and heartwarming friendship in Persona 4 are what drove the series for years, Persona 5 is the best representation of developer Atlus's RPG achievements. Chrono Trigger is the quintessential 90s RPG made by an all-star team of genre pioneers, but it's also timeless thanks to how beautifully it captures everything we love about the genre. In its concise 20 to 25 hour runtime, you quickly grow to love its characters, become invested in their struggles, and master the ways in which their abilities synergize with each other in battle. Beyond that, it's a time-traveling journey about the importance of preserving our world for generations to come, and a sobering look at how the world changes and stays the same across eras of existence. It's clever in the small ways too, refusing to systemize its secrets and making use of a world painted with some of the best pixel art ever seen to draw you into its treasure trove of discoveries. There's also a reason why its soundtrack is still revered as one of the best of all time. Like jumping between time periods in the game itself, putting on any of its songs transports us to a time where the world seemed hopeful despite everything, and Chrono Trigger is one way we still cling on to that. And there you have it, IGN's top 25 JRPGs of all time. Did your favorite make the list? Let us know what your number one would be, as well as anything you think we might have missed in the comments. And for more lists, check out the most overlooked Nintendo Switch games and the top 10 Assassin's Creed games. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
How's that?